Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the very hot and humid Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. If I do not look my usual self, it's because I'm melting. I'll tell you all about everything else at the end because I know not everybody wants to hear about life stuff, so I'll just leave it till the end. I'm going to start, as per usual, with a reminder about the Knitting for Ukraine Makealong. I remember to say Makealong that I'm running. Basically, it's taking place on Instagram using the hashtag Knitting with Ukraine, but it does not have to be knitting. It can be any craft at all by a Ukrainian designer. You need to tag the designer. If you can't find the designer's Instagram name, you can email me at mousesmakes@gmail.com, or you can Instagram message me and I'll see if I can find it for you. It runs until the 31st of August and you do not have to finish by the 31st of August. You can also share as often as you like, because the whole point of the Makealong is to give the designers a bit of a boost. So the more you share, the more their name gets mentioned, the more likelihood there is that someone else will buy a pattern from them. The only thing that you can enter that is not by a Ukrainian designer, oh dear, I'll show you that in a minute. No, actually I'll show you that in a minute. The only thing you can enter that's not by a Ukrainian designer is this. And this is the Unstoppable top by Little Anne. This is the only thing that you can enter because that's not by a Ukrainian designer, because the entirety of the proceeds from these pattern sales are going to help Ukrainian women and children. And now I will show you my calamity. It used to be a retractable tape measure. Now I guess it's just a tape measure. Oh bother, never mind. And calm. I'm too hot. I'm too hot and glowing. My mother said ladies don't sweat. Horses sweat, men perspire and ladies simply glow. Well, I'm glowing like a racehorse at the moment and I'm not even doing anything. And it's making me very grumpy. Okay, so those are the rules for the Makealong, and I've had a couple more prizes delivered that I'm going to show you. The first one is from Diane of Yew Tree Yarncraft. She has a podcast and I will link it below. I've left it all wrapped. It's beautifully wrapped, as if I'd ordered it. And I've just realised that means that I'm rustling, so I apologise. Which I'm not supposed to do. Sorry, Sally. Okay, so from Diane, this gorgeous skein of hand-dyed DK, one of a kind, extra fine merino wool, and some. And I'm sure she's made these to match. Don't know how well you can see them. Some little matching stitch markers. So that was from Diane. And a sock-sized project bag. It's got a box bottom, so it opens up quite large, with a zip with a beautiful little bead on it, and deep down at the bottom one of her shawl sweater sized project bags, again with beads on, and a clip and a little wrist handle, and no pockets, just plain inside. You don't really need the pockets because, well, you could put notions in that, couldn't you? So that was the price that Diane sent, and I think I'm probably going to split it up because it is a beautiful prize, but it's quite a large prize. And then literally just this morning, before I started recording, another prize arrived from my friend Sarah, who used to podcast. She had a paper crafting channel. She has done one knitting podcast, June last year I think it was. I'm going to link her below as well, because I think you should all go and watch her podcast and then nag at her to make some more, because she should. So Sarah sent her own hand-dyed sock set, Triumph Tulips, this one is called. The red's coming out very orange, and I think that's probably my fault. Put it over there. That's more a true orange. My top's coming out very orange, and it's not. It's sort of a blood red, really. You know the light issues I have, so I'm not even going to go into it. Dpn Cozy. You can also use these. Oh, and I've just realised it's got little hearts. You can also use these if you're doing magic loop. You can put the ends of your magic loop in there. Little notions pouch. And a sock bag. And with the sock bag is, if you can see them, that one's turned around. It's a daisy and a ladybird and some little beaded stitch markers. All, I think, handmade by Sarah. So I think again I'm going to split this prize up. Haven't decided how I'm going to split them up yet, but we'll see. Depends how many entries there are. If there are a lot of entries, then I'd like to be able to offer a lot of prizes, so I'll split them up. If there aren't very many entries, then I might leave them together as bundles. Then there's less people, but you get a bigger prize. So I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. What a surprise. I rarely know what I'm going to do. So if you haven't yet entered, if you haven't yet chosen a pattern, you can do it on Ravelry by going into the pattern search box and just putting in Ukrainian designer, and then it will only offer you Ukrainian designers to choose from. If that's not something you fancy, you can, remember, enter this. Again, you have to look for it on Ravelry, but I think it might be, let me just look, also available from one of the designer's websites. Oh, that's a blank page. I don't know, but I will put links to the designer's Instagram below. So if you can't use Ravelry, you can still possibly contact them through Instagram. I think there was also a website. Yes, no, that's Ravelry. Okay, that's what I'll do. If you're desperate to knit this, This is getting so complicated. If you're desperate to knit this, but you can't use Ravelry and you don't have Instagram, you can email me and I will see if I can contact the designer and get the pattern sent to you another way. It's possible you can maybe do it through PayPal. I don't know. Don't take my word for it. That's just an idea that's popped into my head. They might not be prepared to do that. I don't know. That's the other thing I meant to say. If you're not on Instagram but you still want to enter, you can email me a picture of your work, let me know what the designer is, and I will share it on Instagram, and that way you'll get your entry. I think that's everything. I'm fairly certain that's everything. I'm so hot and I've got a banging headache, which I'm hoping is because of the weather. Okay. It has been very hot. I don't think anyone who doesn't even either live in the UK or hasn't... What am I even trying to say? It's been very hot in the UK. You probably know that. On a serious note, there have been a lot of wildfires and people have lost homes. My old hometown, Croydon, has been under like a state of national emergency, as has most of London. The London Fire Brigade say they've not been as busy since the Blitz. It's been really bad. And I know the temperatures we have are not unusual for some of you. I know there's at least one person watches from India, Australia, lots of countries where 40-degree heat is like just a balmy summer's day. But for the first time ever, the UK issued a red weather warning for heat because we do not have the correct infrastructure for heat or snow. 2 snowflakes, the country grinds to a halt. And it's never been this hot before, in sort of recorded memory anyway. They've had to send gritters out because the tarmac on the roads is melting. My husband is riding his motorbike to and from work because fuel is so expensive and it's much cheaper than the car. And I've been worried every day because when it's hot, the oil rises to the top of the tarmac and it's like riding on ice. And now it's raining, so that's going to improve it greatly for his ride home. And it's not raining enough to wash it away. So I'm mithering and I'm just like rambling as well. So let's get back to knitting. So I haven't done a great deal of knitting because it's been so hot. I'm trying to show you what I did, but I can't actually get it to come to me. There we go. All I've done since I saw you last is knit this. It is finished. It is not blocked, but everything is woven in. I just did not have the energy to block it. I'll probably do it this afternoon. Although it doesn't really need it. If it was cooler, I would have worn it today. The pattern is the Breezeway by Fogbound Knits. I will link it below. That's where I was when you saw it last week. And so I finished it off. Actually finished it yesterday, sewing in all the ends and what have you. The yarn I've knitted it with is mostly from a mini set by The Lonely Knitter. Again, I will link her below. And this was a Firefly mini set, which is a science fiction series that I absolutely loved. And the colours were Wash's Wardrobe. Let's see if I can remember them all in the correct order today. Wash's Wardrobe, Serenity, Jane Ain't a Girl, Malcolm Reynolds, Zoe Washburn, Are You Alliance, Inara Sarah, River Tam, Kaylee Fry, and the bottom one is Shiny. The grey is Patterns Diploma Gold. I even remembered that. Can't remember the colourway, but it's just a dark grey. It hasn't got a name, they're all numbers. If you're that desperate to know, have a look back at last week's. So yes, that is finished. I did make a couple of adjustments. First and foremost, and most obviously, the original pattern is not striped, it's in one colour. I have knit this before, but I used a larger needle and I knit a larger size, and it's too big really. It was the first fingering weight garment I ever knit, and I messed up my calculations. I think it slips off my shoulder and so on. This one doesn't. I did brave the heat and try it on yesterday, and it fits beautifully. It's a little shorter than I generally go for, but I plan to wear it over dresses, so that's not much of an issue. I've given it a quite a defined A-line shape. There is shaping in the pattern, but I carried it on past where the pattern tells you to, and gave it this quite dramatic A-line shape because I am an A-line shape. Also, the pattern has at the back short rows to make the back longer than the front, and I didn't want to do that because I thought I'm going to have a big grey chunk at the bottom, and I liked the fact that I'd got the stripes and then the garter edge, and that it all looked quite neat. I didn't want a big semicircular grey bit at the back. I did put the short rows in at the back of the neck, but I don't think that detracts a great deal. See, that's the front. It's just the neckband. I really enjoyed knitting it. The yarn was lovely to work with, and the brilliant news is that she's saved the recipes and is going to bring some of these, I'm hoping all of these, out as full skeins. I think the first one she's planning is Malcolm Reynolds, which is this one, and if the light's being kind, you should be able to see that it's kind of a greeny, purpley, browny purple, beige mixture. Malcolm Reynolds is my favourite character, and I worked it out so that when I wear it, it will be across my heart. It's okay, you can laugh at me. Yes, so I'm almost certainly going to have to get some of that. My favourite one is this one, Are You Alliance, which is purples and dark grey. And then this one, which is Kaylee Fry, which I'm surprised about because it's pale pink and lilac with some sort of goldy green speckles. Pale colours are not generally my thing, but with the dark grey, I can imagine a colourwork sweater with the body in that, and then maybe not quite that dark, maybe a couple of shades lighter colourwork on it. And I just think that would be so pretty for spring and autumn. But we'll have to see whether she brings that out or not. So yes, that is my one and only finished object. My only object that's had any progress on it at all this week, really, because it has been so hot, and this was quite small to have in my lap as I was knitting. Plus I was enjoying it, and you can put up with getting a bit warm and sticky hands if you're enjoying what you're knitting, can't you? My Scully colourwork jumper I've had to put to one side because it is just too warm to knit on. But we've got time till October. I can't wear it. If I finish it, I'm going to want to wear it. So it doesn't really matter that I've not finished it. Now, of course, because I've finished one single thing, I'm now thinking about casting on about 3 different other things. Because it's not like I've still got, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other things on the go. But I have just bought a pink, very pale pink and pale grey dress. They're supposed to be linen. I don't think they are, but they are cool and comfortable anyway. And I thought I'd like to have like a little cropped sweater that I could put on over them in the evenings when it gets chilly or on chillier days. And so I fished this out of stash. It's King Cole Riot DK in Juniper. I've got 2 balls of it. And as you can see, it's pinks and greys. So I'm debating about another love note. I know I've got enough for a love note, but I'm wondering whether I ought to venture out of my comfort zone and have another try at a ranunculus. Because as far as I can tell, I've not knit the ranunculus before, but it's done on the same size needles as the love note, so I can use the same gauge that I used for my second love note, which actually fit. This is what happens when you don't swatch, people. So yeah, I'd like to cast one of those on, which is a bit naughty because I'm also struggling not to cast on a green version of the Skull Sweater, which doesn't feature this week, but if you've not seen it before, have a look at last week and you'll see it in all its glory so far. Although this is DK, it's quite a light DK. It's quite, it's DK of 4 weight and this is like a 3. Does it say on there? No, it doesn't. But it's 30% wool, 70% acrylic. So it's going to be fairly warm, I think. So that's one thing I'm planning on casting on. The other thing, Ruth Loves to Knit and Little Monkeys and Me are having an Across the Pond shawl cowl again this summer, and I've yet to enter it. And I've been thinking about what I want to enter, and I've thought of 2 things, because of course I can't just think of one thing like any normal person. I've got this pattern which came from Hobbii. It's a free pattern. I will try and link it below. I don't know if I can. I bought this, well, I didn't buy it because it was free. I got this, trying to work out if it was 3 or 4 years ago. Hang on, let me work out Christmases. 21, 20, 19, 18. I think I got it in 2018, and I made a load of shawls for friends and family for Christmas with it. I don't think any of them really liked them, but it was when I was first poorly and it gave me something to do. So I fished out, you need 2 balls, I think, of Hobbii Lollipop. Well, I've used my lollipop in something else, in my Sayonara wrap, which I really ought to get on with actually. So I'm about almost halfway with that. I should crack on with that. Maybe I should make that the thing that I concentrate on next. Anyway, digressing. So I've used the lollipop that I bought for this, but that's okay because I'd forgotten that I'd bought it for this. I have got these 2, and these are Karen cakes. Oops, sorry. In blueberry kiwi and what's this one? Cake pop. They're both, are they 20% wool? Yeah, 20% wool, 80% acrylic. And I know they're not the same colour, but the way the pattern works is you use a strand from each ball and sort of stripe it. So I think it will actually work better that they're not the same colour, because every section is going to be a different colour. and they complement each other. And there's two turquoises in there. One is a bit greener than the other, but I think they'll be all right. So I'm going to cast that on for Ruth's. I'm saying Ruth's because I don't watch Fernanda. I'm Amanda. Oh my God. I don't watch the Little Monkeys and Me podcast regularly, but I do watch Ruth regularly. So I'm just saying Ruth's. But it also is equally Fernanda's. So I'm gonna do that to enter, and then I was hugely lucky. I've been very lucky just recently, actually. Sarah, who sent the prize, also sent a gift for me. Diane said, keep something for yourself. I felt bad, so all I've kept is this little mini, because it is a gorgeous colour. I mean, that is, I've gone off track, I know. Those are absolutely my colours. I've asked her if she knows the recipe, but apparently she was just messing around and made a mini out of it. So I'm sad, because I would have ordered a sweater's quantity of that. But never mind, she might find it again by accident. Yes, where was I? So, I was sent by a wonderful friend. And I'm going to say she's a friend, even though we've never actually met. We only ever converse by email. But she's a lady who watches the podcast, and her name is Patricia. I've mentioned her before. And she has sent me yet another lovely present. This is some Bird Street yarn. It's bare naked, baby grey alpaca, silk and cashmere. And I cannot even begin to describe how soft it is. It is the softest thing ever. It's really beautiful, and unfortunately she bought it to make a sweater for herself and then was violently allergic to it. So she very kindly gave it to me, and I've been debating what to do with it, and I thought I could make a sweater. There's enough to make a breezeway or my other favourite, rocket tee. But then I thought, no, I ought to do something a bit special with it, because it is very, very beautiful yarn. So I've been looking for a shawl, and I have two choices, but I think I know which one I'm going to go with. The first thing I thought of was this, the Pagona by Stephen West. He's just updated this pattern. I bought it when it was just a one skein shawl, and he's just updated it to be as big as you like, really. And I had originally thought this one, but I feel like this might be a bit of a waste of beautiful yarn when this would suit a gradient really nicely. So I've kind of rejected that. And then I went to this, which was a Christmas present from my aunt and uncle last year. And as you can see, there's one or two things in it I'd like to make. And I found this pattern, which uses, there's 3 sizes. If I make the middle size, I've got enough. And it has got a bubble stitch in it, but I think if I do it like Stephen West did it on the shawlography, I think I'll be all right. It's quite a big bubble looking at the picture. Anyway, this is the shawl. I think it's called Aloft by Rebecca Burkompass. I'm probably saying that very badly. I apologise if that's the case. So there is that one. It's triangular shawl. And then further towards the back, and I took the thing out that was marking it, is this one. Let me see if I can find a better picture. This is just one size, but again I have the right amount of yarn for it, and it's another large. Don't know if you can see terribly well, but you can still see the stitch pattern there. Another large shawl, and that one is Frost by Valentina Cossiani. Oh, Cossiani Tibisay. Why do I do this to myself? So those are my 3 choices. I like the third one better. My husband likes the second one better. So it's still yet to be decided. Let's face it, I'll probably go with the third one because I like it best. And I'm knitting it for me, not him. I don't know why I'm whispering. He's 25 miles away. Yeah, so you can probably expect some new cast-ons next week, and feel free to tell me off for not concentrating on the stuff that I need to finish. It's naughty and bad, I know, but as Ruth herself likes to say, I've just remembered this, it's my knitting and I'll cast on if I want to. So there, I shouldn't be making myself feel guilty, should I? I should be glad. Right, I think that's everything. I've destroyed my tape measure. That was unexpected. Ah, yes, I was going to tell you about this week's disasters. The day after I saw you last, or you saw me, Thursday last week anyway, Ewan fell in the living room kicking a ball. I'd like to point out Ewan's 20 years old, and he fell, all 6'4", of him, and landed on his left elbow. I have video, but I'm not going to show it to you because it makes a really quite nauseating noise as he hits the floor. The reason I have video is we have CCTV in the living room, so that Dave can check that I'm alive. He says it's to watch the cats, if anyone asks, but I know that's what it's for. So his brother took him to the hospital because Dave was still at work, and I don't go out. That becomes relevant in a minute. And they x-rayed it, and they weren't sure whether it was fractured or not. So they put him in a sling and they sent him home. He has this morning had a phone call from the orthopaedic surgeon, who was going to tell him that he thought it was broken, but in actual fact he was climbing into bed on Sunday night, slipped, put his bad arm out to save himself accidentally. Something inside it made a horrible click, and now it's a lot better than it was. It had swollen up almost immediately, all round, the front as well as the back, like a small melon. It did not look good. And I don't remember if I said this. If I did, I'm sorry. It was, when they x-rayed it, it was so swollen and full of fluid that they couldn't really see clearly. So it looks like it wasn't broken. If it was broken, they don't plaster it anyway unless you need surgery. And he's got some movement back in it. He can bend it to about here, and he can almost straighten it, which, I mean, he couldn't for 2 or 3 days move it at all. So Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was helping him wash, dress, clean his teeth, because he's left-handed, very, very left-handed, and he'd fallen on his left elbow. Which is probably our instinct, actually, thinking about it. You probably put out the hand that is most dominant, but anyway, he didn't put a hand out. He literally went down, bang, on the end of his elbow. So, yeah, it's been very hot. He's had a headache. He had a very sore throat. And he thought he'd probably better do a COVID test. You can all tell what's coming, can't you? And sure enough, it was positive. So here am I, who have not left the house apart from medical appointments for 2 years and 8 months to avoid catching COVID, have had typhoid Ewan breathing in my face for like 3.5 days. And now I've got a very furry feeling sore throat and a bit of a cough and a bit of a headache. Did do a test this morning, it was negative. It might just be too soon. It might be that I'm going to be lucky. Who knows? Watch this space. But if there's no podcast next week, don't be surprised. So, that's our excitement. And bless him, he doesn't, it's not like he's been down at the pub or anything. He started a new job the week before he broke his elbow. Possibly broke his elbow. I'm using broke as in damaged rather than fractured. And he wasn't wearing a mask at work, so we suspect that's where he picked it up from. So, yeah, time will tell. But I'm convincing myself that I just feel a bit grotty because it's been so hot. It's been very hot, very humid. And we had a field fire here Monday, that caught the transformer, so there was a power cut for a few hours. We were quite lucky, we came back on quickly, but the lower half of town were out for hours and hours, and so the smoke from all of that has been blowing into everyone's houses. So I'm telling myself that's why my throat is scratchy and I'm coughy, and my headache is just because I'm a bit dehydrated. So yeah, positive thinking. And that really is all I've got to tell you. Luckily, we won't be sending any prizes until September, so the germs will all be gone by then. And so that's all I have for you this week. In which case, I will say to you, I hope that wherever you are, you have comfortable weather, whatever your preference for comfortable weather is, and that you are enjoying your knitting and getting plenty of knitting time, and that life is good. And that said, I will see you all, possibly, if I haven't got the Rona, next week. Bye guys.